Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Red with a Splash of White podcast. We're on number 7 now, and yeah, it's just the usual. Previous weekend of sport, how it went, what we thought, and all that there. And so yeah, we'll start with Liverpool versus Man City, which ended up City 4-1. I say that with a very small tone, I suppose, in front of the Liverpool fans. That's the first City win at Anfield since 2003. Just a question. I don't mean to patronise. I'm just sort of curious. What do you think? What happened really? I mean, I watched the game, but I want to know from sort of a Liverpool fan's perspective what you thought happened.
Do you want to go first?
No, I'll go first then. Well, even the first half, I thought the first half was quite a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I think both sides were working each other out. I don't know, Gary Neville was chatting a bit of rubbish, saying they want the teams to come out, and I don't know what he expected. But I thought the teams were working each other out. There was a few chances. Gundogan missed his penalty. And then in the second half, it was tight again. City got their goal. We got it back to one each. Still thought it was pretty tight. Could have went either way. Not both sides weren't doing too much. And then I think once Alisson's first blunder, straight away, and that just knocked the stuffing out of us and just downhill from there. I think it was even Graham Souness at 4-1 flattered City.
Yeah,
which I think I agree with that. I don't know what Alisson was doing. It was just, but I'm not going to give him stickies. What the times he saved us, just one of those days, really.
Just Klein, sorry, before you come on. I mean, it was only 8 shots each per team, so 16 shots altogether, but 8 shots for Liverpool, 8 shots for City. As you say, Graham Souness was completely spot on when you say that the game sort of flattered City in the 4-1 scoreline.
Well, yeah, it was just the fact that we let them have it then. Obviously, the Gundogan goal was a lucky one, the first one off the good shot from Foden. Good, it was palmed out by Alisson, couldn't do much.
Yeah.
So realistically, if it wasn't for mistakes, maybe the 1-1 would have suited it. Foden did score a great goal at the end, which is completely deserved. Obviously, we just fell apart defensively, really, at some points. The Fabinho challenge on Sterling for the first penalty was brutal. There was no need for it. He didn't need to do it. Again, some other errors.
I think Trent was major fault of that too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He just let him go. He
dominated Trent all day, to be honest.
Yeah,
he just let him go.
I mean, Harper. You know, in last week's episode, we I think we all gave sort of Trent praise and sort of the performance that he gave.
Yeah.
And now this week, one of my notes is Trent defensively poor again, and I've wrote down, is he being found out? Maybe that's the wrong word, but there's definitely questions now, again, of his ability.
I think it's the fact I think even Neville mentioned it in commentary, when somebody's one-on-one against him, he's too upright.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting low to the ground, and he's upright, and it's just easy just to drop a shoulder and go past him. I think if he had himself a lower base, he might be able to, I don't know, make a challenge or something like that. I think too, when Trent comes out, I think a lot of people think Trent's fast. He's not slow, but he's not lightning either. You can very easily burn him if you had a bit of speed.
Yeah, it was the fact. I think it's the fact Trent sometimes. I think sometimes in my mind, I think he trusts too much of the centre halves because he knows who he's had and behind him before.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, with Fabinho's performances so far, Fabinho's played very well in my mind. He hasn't had many errors. Sometimes he has the odd one. I think just the fact that he had in his mind that these Tendo and Fabinho, they're going to stop this. It's going to be okay. Some points at other times in the game he didn't look too good either, but I think it's just I'll never say a bad word about him overall. I just think he's just had a couple of games this season that he's been off.
It's been off it, yeah.
If you think about it, it's just been off. It's hard to watch when we've seen him last season having amazing performances, and now he's having these off days. Maybe because he thinks like us that it's not a hunt for a title anymore. It's just a hunt to get Champions League. And I think that, and I'm pretty sure Harper thinks that as well. But I think we just it's here. He can be good and bad. Anytime he wants to. Not the way he wants. Not to say he wants to be the same way I'd say Pogba is here bad when he wants to be, but
yeah,
you never know.
Look, I mean, you make a point that Trent this season hasn't been particularly good, but I mean, I think you could say that for all the Liverpool team, and I mean, barring obviously Salah and maybe with an exception of Randy Robertson, not an exception, Andy Robertson as well. But apart from that, there, everybody else in Liverpool's side this season, you have to admit, has had a poor enough season compared to their previous standards.
I think Henderson's been great, I think, as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean, considering he's been jumping back and forth between defence and midfield. I mean, obviously he's watched them every week. But I mean, from an outsider's perspective, I think it's just been the whole team haven't maybe been at it this season, and that's thus as you know, the argument is that if you have Van Dijk and Gomez at the back, that means the rest of the team can just go, yep, happy days, no problem, and that obviously includes Trent. Trent can just bomb forward, knowing if I'm not back as quick as I could be, I'll be fine, and maybe that's where he's sort of been let down. What about
thinking?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say on Sunday, like, obviously City had won the game 4-1, but the amount of praise City are getting it's just so over the top. Roy Keane was absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
And he basically was questioning the player's character and stuff like that, which I think was totally disrespectful. There's no need for that. Martin Tyler and Neville are an absolute joke on commentary. All games, City this, City that, and then had to dig at us at every opportunity he could get.
Yeah.
Which is infuriating to listen to, but no, if they win games, and hopefully that shuts them up a bit. But I think the City are the media darlings at the minute, and I think they're only a few points ahead of where they were last year. So it's not as if their performance is massively better compared to last year. It's just we fell off.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, that's what I mean. That sort of shows the level that you were at last year. Sort of, you were at that stage maybe 10 points clear of them, maybe even more.
Clay may disagree, but I've seen a Liverpool fan say it too. I think I'll say it again. If we, like even probably next year, we have full team out there, we walk that league. I'm pretty confident saying that. Obviously, people disagree with that, but
I'll say it as well. It's the fact that they give us so much criticism, and they know we have lost so much in terms of players. I just find
they don't mention that enough.
It's frustrating to have all these commentators and media representatives saying that we're bad. There's bad champions. That's the one that they said.
Yeah.
Bad champions whenever we've lost the world's best centre back, Joe Gomez. Not to say Joe Gomez is the world's best centre back. I always know what we're talking about. We've obviously had to move the heart of our team and Henderson and the centre half. Fabinho. Obviously, we're talking about Trent and Robbo being able to bomb forward. Fabinho's as much as that defensive work as the rest of them. It's just annoying to see that people they just don't think that just because they've won the league, they're going to be the exact same the next season no matter what. They did this. Like Chelsea went from and won the league to 10th, did they not?
Sky tried to question us today as well, but I didn't see them question any other team. Like I think United won it in 20. I don't know the exact year. I think it was
2012-13 was the last time.
And the year after they dropped well off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're still high chance we're still on the top four. That's it is what it is. Just I think they're just enjoying us we're not saying failing, but
they just,
struggling with it. Minute.
Well, I just think that there's so many. Obviously, Carragher tries to be as much as positive as possible when he can, but the fact that everyone else is so against this is just annoying. Even maybe McManaman is against this, and he fucking played for us.
But where does Roy Keating's comments come out of? Like, I don't get it. Like, he's to be fair, recently he's praised us a lot, and then all of a sudden he's throwing that out. I think it's probably a wee bit of jealousy as well, considering United have done nothing the last how many years. Maybe that's got something to do with it, and he thought, all right, I'll just throw this out now. And he also said, the players have never came out and said they want to win more trophies. That's crap he's chatting. Every player they done it immediately after they won the league. There's quotes from Henderson and Trent. But I know Keane had to do maybe a wee bit more research before he starts chatting rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to sort of, and I think this is going to be maybe the first episode where we're going to sort of not disagree, but there's going to be a wee bit of sort of dispute. I completely back the idea that without Virgil van Dijk, the Liverpool team is a completely different side. It's like not even compare, but in terms of Leeds, it's like Leeds without Calvin Phillips. It's your main man, sort of that type of idea. The only other injury, and maybe I'm wrong, the only injury I can think of in terms of like it's been a bad tackle was Thiago. It was in the same game where Richarlison got sent off. In terms of that, otherwise, when you look at Joe Gomez, Diogo Jota, who else are we talking? I mean, obviously, just rattle off Joel Matip. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who else are we talking? I'm sort of just.
Well, Trent was out for a wee spell.
Yeah.
Mane missed a few. Well, two there, I think.
Can I sort of? And this is not me questioning Klopp in any way, shape, or form. And obviously, right now, it'd be really distasteful to.
Yeah.
But do we think that Klopp's football is maybe having an impact on these injuries, or do you just think it is a real bad luck and real barren spell of injuries?
I think it's. I can see where you're coming from there. It was Monday Night Football. Kind of when it was 2 weeks ago. Carragher brought it up, and I think he brought up a list of players through the last 3 years in the league who's been in the top 10 in terms of appearances, and we had 4 players.
Yeah.
Within the top 10, and then he went on to explain it well. It was we wouldn't have won the Champions League, the Premier League, with resting players. Our backups aren't good enough. Yes, they flogged the likes of Film 3. Yes, they flogged them, and maybe now that might be catching up with us a bit. Who knows? But I think that's probably
that makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do agree. It's I think just the fact that we played as much of the intensity that we do, it's like a pressure after losing the ball. You're constantly going at it, and you that player wants to win the ball back, and it's similar to Leeds' style as you would think, but Leeds is more of a constant pressure system instead of a pressure after losing it.
Yeah.
It is now to the point that maybe we do need to start bringing in more better attacking subs, or better that now we obviously have brought in some defensive subs that we needed, or possible starters in the terms of Kabak at this time. But from what I've seen of the players that have came in, Jordan's played decent when he's came on. He's created some chances, but obviously some have revealed and some haven't. Or Divock is not good enough anymore. He's had his time, and he's of course he's been he's done a lot for the club. He had some great performances when he's been there. But I think it is time for him to pass on. But I think it's the fact that we don't have. Obviously, Jota can play there at left wing, but I think we need a better backup left wing. I think we have some young players that could do it. Obviously, Kurt Jones has filled in at some points there. Players like, obviously, we've never mentioned this man in a long time, but Ben Woodburn, if he ever had a fucking chance, he's played that side. I haven't heard of Ben Woodburn in a long time, but he is at the club surprisingly still. But I think that's maybe something we might need to look into. Obviously, with the aging of the front three are obviously in their prime, but they're still now moving on under. They're going to start moving under their 30s. So it might be a good idea to maybe reload the backups. Obviously, we have players on loan like Harvey Elliott and stuff that could do that. Maybe Harry Wilson. But it'll be interesting to see going forward as to how Klopp reloads the team for that system.
Yeah,
I think. Sorry, quickly before we move on. I think Jota and Naby Keita coming back could be key for the rest of the season. Obviously,
yep, definitely.
Keita's injured constantly, but I think they've put him under a new regime or something now. I think they help hopefully get him over these recurrent injuries. I think he can play hopefully a key part in that midfield, and then Jota coming back, he'll help freshen things up. Big in terms of the front three.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been sort of a Liverpool sort of focused segment there, but I think it's been coming all in terms of since when we started the podcast. I think we've needed to sort of focus on Liverpool at some stage, and sort of what's went wrong. But that's taking nothing away from City at the weekend. City were
on the job,
exactly. They got their business done. I mean, just before we do move on, do you think they sort of got to do second or third gear? And then he's saying it's not me slagging Liverpool. I just want to sort of know.
I don't think either team did.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe they did. Maybe the spell just before Foden's goal. Maybe they turned it on a bit.
They got confidence. They got a lot more confidence. I think maybe just another touch on possibly a red card decision on Diaz for that penalty. As Kaya said, they've been given before. I think Stones did get across just in time, so it wasn't last man.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I mean, my question was going to be the opposite, not the opposite of that, but sort of, do we think of? I suppose it was Salah's was a bit dramatic in it, but that's how you win. It is. That's the argument. Is that's how you win penalties?
It was a stone-wall penalty, like he did.
Yeah, there was definitely a penalty, but there was a chance at it. I just wanted to ask to see if you thought it was more of as to whether it could be turned over.
See,
I don't know if it's a big card. I don't know about that.
No, it's one of them ones. It's not nowadays if it's deliberately stopping a goal scoring opportunity, which Diaz did. Diaz had no intention of getting the ball, but yellow cards, fair enough.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've just discussed Liverpool's problems, but also massive credit to City, as we just said. And they got the job done. Moving on from one big game to another big game in the fact of how it finished in Man United Everton at Old Trafford, which ended up 3-3. I mean, it was a complete collapse from United. They were 2-0 up once. In the first half, I think they were 2-0 up and just fell to pieces. Do you think? Go ahead.
Well, it was good. It was a good game. It was a good game. Obviously, 6 goals on it. You can't say that's never not to be a good game. It was a great goal for Fernandes again, scoring another good goal. It's hard to say bad things about him when he's scoring the way he does. Great effect of that United side. Some defensive lapses from United. A bad mistake from De Gea giving De Curry that goal. But overall, obviously a good game. It's just Everton were lucky to get that nick at the end. They scored. Just with hard luck to United for not getting the one.
Is this a different Everton we're seeing? Like genuine.
They've kind of went from being nothing really at all. They going mad. Obviously, last night the 5-4-1 against Tottenham.
Yeah.
They seem to be scoring out of their boots now at the moment.
Like going to Old Trafford and fighting back.
Yeah.
The way they did. It's a credit to them.
Yeah, no, I mean absolutely. But one of my points was, did both defenses make it too easy for the other attack? Like, I mean, I was watching the highlights and I just at one stage I think it was when it went back up to 2-2. I just sort of thought, that's really poor defending. You know, like, do we think maybe
Yeah.
both defenses made it a wee bit too easy for the lower attack, or was it just these are just, you know, Everton, a massive fight back from Everton, and, you know, United just didn't really help themselves?
I think the only decent goal in the game, to be fair, like Fernandes was a decent strike, but the keeper looked pretty woeful. I don't know what the keeper was doing.
His possession was up.
I think if we're right in saying too, I think Olsen's worse than Pickford from what I've seen recently, which is unbelievably.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
It's hard. Where Hamish Rodriguez was a great strike. That's about the only one. I've seen bits of the game, and from what I read as well, it was entertaining. Sore one United that though. They only probably increase that gap, but it was a bad goal to concede. Yeah,
well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Everton had 3 shots on target. You know, 3 shots on target, 3 goals.
Yeah.
That says it all. Like, you know, what do we think? Obviously, there's loads of clips going around on the internet at the moment of Maguire for the 3rd goal, where the defense is here. He's about not the defense, but the last line of attack's about there, and he's about here behind the rest of the defense. You know, like he doesn't. For being a captain, he doesn't organize the defense enough in my eyes.
You could be right, and that's probably.
I think.
Go ahead, Clint. No, go ahead.
No, I think we've discussed this before. I think he's not. I don't think he's captain material. He's a good player. He can be a good player when he is, but I think they need to put someone else in that captain role. I think he obviously he's a good centre half, but I don't think he's leader material. I think they're but you have to think then who they're going to put it as, because they keep recycling that side 24/7 as to who's actually playing. I think the only reason 2 people you can say is constant players in that team is 3 people, even Fernandes, Hammond, De Gea, but then De Gea makes mistakes, so who's that going to be? I think they do need to pick someone else to do that. Obviously, a defensive captain is what a lot of teams do. Sometimes it's more the holding midfielder role that gets the captain, but I think they do need to switch it up as a leadership role, because he just has that many lapses in judgment, and then that's moving on. That's transferring the players in the team, because they're looking at him as the captain, and then they're not, and then they're going to think, all right, he's made a mistake. I'm going to have a chance to make a mistake, because if he gets to do it, the rest of the team will.
And like, if you're in midfield, you know that he's behind you. It doesn't give you any confidence at all. I think it was when he signed for United, it was Graham Souness said, was it Souness or Merson? Kind of mind. That he'd bring the same impact as Van Dijk did to Liverpool.
Probably Merson, to be fair. Probably Merson.
But you see Maguire on the pitch, he's pointing, but you don't actually know what he's doing. He's just pointing. You don't know, like, what's he actually saying or what's he doing. And in terms of being behind the last line of attack,
playing everybody on side,
playing him on, like that just shows fear in his mind. He's just dropping deep,
yeah,
rather than just trusting himself and pushing out a bit.
Yeah,
but I agree, playing too. Cap material could be. I wish it would be De Gea, but he's not.
I mean, out of all the United players, I would say the most captain, if he started every game, the most captain-like player is probably Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. I mean,
it's not a bad shout, to be fair.
I think
if somebody told you he was captain, you'd laugh.
McTominay or Maguire?
McTominay, like somebody said, now McTominay is captain of United. Like you.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I can see your point, though. I can't see.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just as feasible as Maguire being captain. I think that's maybe the argument.
Yeah.
And I think he probably do a better job.
Well, it is a point to be said that the performances of McTominay's had. He's very much the influential player at United maybe at the moment, other than Fernandes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's obvious. I think he did score in that game, didn't he?
Yeah.
He scored. Yeah.
Scored the right as well in the FA Cup.
Yeah, he does. I think I'm very impressed with McTominay. He's a very good. He seems to be a very good player. From what I've watched, obviously he's got a lot of goals this season, which is good for him. But I think it is a possibility. Yeah, that's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean,
the fans will want Fernandes, I think, anyway.
Mm.
After a while, no doubt they'll want him to be.
yeah,
Fernandes seems like he dishes it out. Like he doesn't seem to be. He's confident enough, lad. He doesn't hold back.
Yeah, like it's a weird one. Like I mean, you sort of. I'm not really sure about United captaincy. It's sort of one of them ones, like you know, you sort of. Maguire doesn't feel the confidence. I mean, I just said McTominay, obviously, but even McTominay, as you say, it's a bit of a laugh if you sort of hear him as your captain.
Yeah.
And even Bruno Fernandes, and don't get me wrong, I think obviously we all think Bruno Fernandes is a good player, but as a captain, I don't. Again, it's one of those things where you probably need a United fan on here to sort of give us a bit of insight and sort of give us that side of things, which could happen someday. But
I think of probably putting like Fernandes captain. That's probably like having your Manes, your Salah, your Maguire, or that's like having them captain. You just like wouldn't say it wouldn't sit right with it.
It's the feature player. It's the feature player you're thinking about there. And other players kind of moving away from captaincy. Player that we've talked about has had a influential role at United. Cavani, he's had a very good last couple of games and he's been impressive. I think 4 of his 6 goals have all been headers. I think it kind of proves the fact that what we said earlier on in the podcast, saying that he's a player that can get in behind you and get there and score. But do you think between him and Martial, that's now a battle that's been won?
Go ahead, Freckle.
I don't know if it's a battle that's been won. I think it's now you've got 2 different options. Because I was thinking of this earlier. I was sort of thinking about Leeds in the summer and who they'd sign or whatever. I mean, obviously after seeing Rafinha last night, everybody losing their head over him. Or not last night, the night before. Thinking who would be signed. I mean, you have to look at Leeds strikers, and don't get me wrong, Patrick Bamford's been unbelievable this season, but you need that different option. You need that, as we had in the Championship last season, that Eddie Nketiah at yard of pace that can get him behind. And I think United now have that, in that Martial's got the yard of pace. Cavani's that natural number 9 who knows exactly where the back of the net is and knows that sort of positioning for that side of things.
Yeah.
And maybe earlier on in the season, whenever Liverpool fans were crying for Firmino's head, that's what you might have needed. Not Cavani, but that type of idea, just that different striker to sort of offer a different role, maybe.
There's quite a few United fans in my work, and like they all want Cavani starting, which I think I have to agree with. I think he's you're much more fear in the opposition if you'd have Cavani up top or compared to Martial. He's just a poacher. Like ball comes into the box, he's going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been actually quite surprised. I thought he was a woeful signing when it happened. I thought he's done. He's definitely far from finished.
Yeah, I mean, why PSG let him and Thiago Silva go on a free without a word said to either of them is beyond me. You know, they've got a bit of life in them yet.
Do you think it's a possibility that Martial now goes back out onto the wings as he had previous time? Possibly replace Greenwood on that right-hand side?
Maybe.
I mean, if you do that, do you then bring Rashford back into his natural striker role? Because that's where Rashford started whenever he first broke onto the scene, was as a striker for United. But then
I think he's far better through there, Rashford.
As a striker, yeah.
As a striker, yeah, I think he's far better in there. Next time it's there, United teams changing constantly. United fans work too. I think they're really frustrated with Martial. He hasn't kicked on since he's been at United. He's just the same old. Just that tone, just that look he does every game. Like he just
always the same look. There's no difference in
nothing out of him.
The guy just looks lost. He does look lost on occasions.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we've always just focused a lot on United there. I mean, we've even just talked about the captaincy and everything. I mean, we haven't really looked at Everton here now. As we said, it's a massive turnaround. They were 2-0 down, brought it back to 3-3. Do we think James Rodriguez had a big influence on this game? Obviously, he scored, but otherwise,
I think so. He's sort of gone quiet there for a while. I don't know if he had a few injuries, maybe. You didn't hear mentioned as much, but what a way to come back in the scene. It was a beautiful finish. I think he brings sort of like calmness to, I think, Everton. So he's played in the big stage. So like going to the likes of Old Trafford's not going to.
Yeah.
He's been there, done that. He's been there, done that.
World Cups and everything. Yeah.
Maybe that puts confidence. Into the rest of the players. They've a good core. Like, the core as well. It's not a bad midfield.
Decore and Allen as well. Is Allen back in or is he still injured?
Davies is playing at the moment, I think.
Oh, Davies.
Well, he's not been bad. He hasn't been bad from what I've seen.
Well, he's not been bad, but he doesn't inspire your confidence.
I think they've had a lot of changes, and I think they've had a lot of interesting changes in formation too. I think they just have a system of play, because you could think the players that they can play where it's a free roam kind of thing, if you think about it. Because you've seen Rodriguez being listed as playing striker, but he doesn't. He plays out wide. He plays inside, and I think they're good. I think Everton are kind of throwing so many different things at times, like we talked about a while back when we spoke about why they were playing 4 centre halves, but they've changed from that now to only playing 3 centre halves, didn't you? But
massive difference there. Yeah,
it's a massive difference. I think that's what they've done well. I think Ancelotti's happy with them getting the point back from defeat, but I think he's had a lot more enthusiasm recently. I think he went off.
Opposite of last night when we scored a 5-4 winner.
He just stood there.
He just stood there.
His last cup of tea. I think there's a more sense of, right, we had a bad spell, now they have to put their minds on it properly to stay where they want to be. They get where they want to be. I think they've realised that they had a good couple of games there where they were very steel, and the way they played. Obviously they have good players in the team. Denier again's had another great season so far from the looks of it. But I think the signings that they've made has very much helped them, and they're very good now. They've changed from their style of play. I think they've got more speed in the team, even though some of the players aren't that. I got about there myself. But I think there's speed to their team, even though their players might not be that quick. But the speed they play, tiki-taka-esque, obviously not on the scale of Barcelona, but I think they've got that in their repertoire now, and they're now playing well with it.
I think it's important for Everton, even going into next season, keep what they have, try and get rid of some of the, what's the word?
Dead wood.
So get some of the dead wood and replace that with more quality. I think it'll probably take quite a bit of money. Like goalkeeper, still think they need another centre half.
I'm sure they have the money, to be fair, at the moment.
Mina and Keane, they're okay, but they're not great.
You probably need someone to partner Mina. Sorry, who would you take out of the team? Would you take Keane or would you take Mina?
Who would take out of the team?
Yeah, if you had a choice.
I say Mina.
I think could be right. Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Kane for me has had enough good chances this season. He scored a couple of goals. I think he's proved himself a bit more.
He's proved himself as a striker then, hasn't he? If he's scored a few goals.
Well, from what he was, yeah. I think he's got more under the lines of what he was at Burnley.
Yeah.
I think he's
But I think
a lot better.
another flair player maybe then, and then another striker.
Do you reckon? I mean, they have. Oh, well, yeah, maybe actually. Well, if you look at it, you have James, Richarlison, Sigurdsson. Who else they've up in that sort of camera? That's three sort of flair players. Do you reckon? Do you reckon they need that, or do you reckon they need another winger? In terms of
The flair sort of fell into the winger. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, fair enough.
I think they need to improve their right hand side a lot more. I think obviously Coleman's been out. Coleman's I think is out. I think he's injured. I'm not 100% sure. I think they let go of. Did they let go of John Joe Kenny? Is he away somewhere?
He's on loan, I
Did he go
think.
to Celtic, did he?
Yeah, I think he did.
Celtic,
Yeah.
I think,
no.
but I think they do need to invest in a right back, and they need to invest in a right winger, because I think obviously James has played there a lot in his career, but I don't think he has the speed to be playing solely on that right hand side. He needs to be in the model. As to whether Iwobi's not been terrible, to be fair. Iwobi's had an okay season, but I think that's what they need to do. I think they definitely need to go and replace that right hand side a lot.
There's a Brazilian that leads it ain't bad.
They're one player at all. Just give us 60 million, I think.
On their heads. Head to Merseyside.
I'm sure. I'm sure we'll talk to him. We'll talk about him whenever we come to Leeds. Moving on from Everton, I think to Newcastle versus Southampton, which ended up 3-2 to Newcastle. Newcastle 10 points clear the relegation zone now. However, the big thing I think is Callum Wilson's now for 8 weeks.
Ooh,
it's a big loss. Like
that's a sore blow. Brissy kind of catch a break at the minute. It made me think when I read that, it was like, is Bruce now going to go back to his old style football? Is he going to go back to being afraid? He knows he's not, like, they struggle to score goals with Wilson in the team. That threat now has been taken away. He's like, right, we're going to go back and park the bus and sit in and try and grind games out? Or is he going to try and stick to what they've been doing and go for it? That's what's sort of exciting me about it, to see what way he goes about it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think obviously they don't have enough. I think obviously Gale has been nothing for a long time. Jolinton has scored. He scored a couple of goals.
Yeah.
In his time at Newcastle. Unless they do play St. Maxim up front, maybe it's a possibility. Obviously, he's more of a winger.
Almiron maybe, false nine or something.
Almiron possibly. He's had a good couple of games.
A false nine is Steve Bruce team player.
That's not a player. That's what I mean. Play him up there.
Of course.
But as you say, like Bruce said, false nine.
Just play a 5.
Steve Bruce don't go together.
It'll just come out as a 5-5. They'll just set up their formation for next week. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I don't know. They've lost. Obviously, Manquillo went off in the first half as well. He's been, from what I've seen, he's been okay off that right hand
he's
side.
been decent for them. Yeah,
it's been decent. We'll see what Kraft does now. Obviously, they'll let go of Yedlin. But it'll be interesting. Congratulations to obviously Willock and Bonamino both getting 2 good goals.
Yeah, well, that's but yeah.
100%. But I don't know what Newcastle are going to do now about them. I don't know.
Jolinton needs to step up.
Yeah, what was he?
Came in there.
30-minute striker, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, he was a good player at Hoffenheim from the times I watched Hoffenheim highlights and stuff like that there from time to time. It's just going to see what happens. It's one Brazilian came out of Hoffenheim and had a great career in the Premier League.
Yeah.
We'll see what this one does.
He looks lazy. He doesn't look like very much.
He doesn't want to put in the hard yards.
No, he definitely doesn't. And which ain't going to work in a
Newcastle
or Steve Bruce team, I think.
Yeah, I mean, We've just focused on Newcastle there. Southampton wise, we've mentioned Minamino got a debut goal, which we sort of talked about last week. We sort of said that he could do good work there. But Southampton had 14 shots to 6. Again, it's dominating the ball without putting it in the back of the net. But do we think that maybe the 9 men of Newcastle helped?
I was watching it, and then when Shar went off, Southampton just Southampton just piled the pressure on even more. It was interesting on Saturday. Danny Ings looked incredibly frustrated. Frustrated more than I think I've ever seen him. No doubt that'll start the rumours about. Yeah, there's been rumours already about him moving on this summer. But he didn't look a happy boy.
Do you reckon he was frustrated himself, or was it frustration at his teammates, sort of Shea Adams and the likes, maybe?
I think it's sort of probably a bit of himself. But I think there was one chance in the second half. There was a ball that was intended for him, but didn't reach him, and there was just a big strop after it. And there was multiple occasions he just did not look happy. But no, go ahead.
What do you as a teams is where he could go to, or do you think? Obviously, I think we spoke before about possible West Ham.
Yeah.
Leicester as well is another one.
That's what I was going to say. Leicester, he could be a great fit for. Obviously, Vardy's had a lot of injuries recently. I don't think Vardy will retire, obviously, but
I think it's one of them teams. That level he needs to. Then again, Southampton should be at that level, so it's one of them ones.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear Hasenhüttl say that they need to hit the reset switch, and they do. That's something it's very interesting, the fact that they brought in players and still stuck with a 4-4-2. I think it's interesting they brought in obviously Minamino, and they've stayed in that 4-4-2 system. I think they should possibly move maybe to a 4-3-3 with Holden. Obviously, Diallo could play that role, or Oriol Romero, with Redmond on the side. Obviously, they got the one tonight. Congratulations, they won their FA Cup game against Wolves.
They needed that, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely needed that. They needed a one. They needed to score. They needed a 100%. After being dominated. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think they need to get back out of that defensive shape again. They're conceding plenty of goals.
Scoring plenty of OGs.
Just get back that solid, like Vestergaard and Bender, get back that solid base and go from there again.
Yeah. Just sort of before we move on, Ward-Prowse with another free kick once again. Sort of seems to be.
Brilliant.
To give him a penalty.
Yeah, he seems to be the best free kick taker on the country at the moment. And I don't think that's an oxymoron. I think I'm genuinely right in saying that. Moving from what did I say? Moving from Newcastle in sort of relegation possibilities to what it seems like now, again, we keep saying this every week, is relegation guarantees. In Sheffield United, they lost 2-1 to Chelsea. It was even and off by the game stats, but this also takes Tuchel to an unbeaten. He's unbeaten since he joined Chelsea.
Yep.
Does this definitely prove that it was the players? No, sorry, it was Frank as a coach and not the players.
I think it's still too early yet. I don't. He's
coughing.
Again. I don't like Frank. I don't like Lampard, but in terms of that,
who does?
But I'll back him here. I think it's still too early. I think
absolutely.
I think the results have been too close. I think that's what you have to say too. They've been by one or maybe two at the most 2 goals, I believe. I don't think they've scored more than that. I don't think.
Well, Spurs and one of them was good, but he's had a comfortable enough games to.
But but you have to say they're winning. What can you say bad about them? They're winning.
They're winning. Yeah.
I think slow start. I think they had a slow start. Burke should have scored.
Yeah,
But
Burke,
luckily hit the side netting. I think it was just more. It wasn't all Chelsea. Sheffield had the ball as well, obviously. But they didn't have any. They didn't score any goals. It was a miscommunication error from Rudiger that got the OG.
Yeah, we just tapped on his own net.
But some good performances from Chelsea. Obviously, Werner's was involved in both goals. Obviously, getting the assist and then technically getting an assist for the penalty. Do you think he's now moving on under Tuchel, that he's now moving into possibly his Leipzig form?
Well, I mean, I think that was sort of one of my thoughts earlier on was him and Havertz both now have a German compatriot, so to speak, that has moved to a new country in the middle of COVID, in actually worse circumstances than what they moved to the country in, and is now able to say, okay, I can sympathise with you, I can work it out with you, whereas Lampard didn't have that sympathy. And I suppose it isn't up to the manager to sort of. I mean, Robin Koch moved from Germany to Leeds and slotted right in. You know, there was no questions there, and I understand.
He was thrown in the first game.
Yeah, he was thrown in the first game against the best attack in the league, probably. And for the most part, had a decent game, and for the most of the season, had a good game. But I think now having Tuchel just sort of have his arm around their shoulder and say, "Look, I'm here. We can talk about anything." I think that's a real thing. But yeah, if Werner getting assists, you know, he's now getting in the right position for goals, as you say, and I think that's definitely a Tuchel thing.
Yeah, he just needs to get the goals now, and then that'll probably kickstart him a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't said very much about Sheffield United, but that's because it's just been it's going to be going over old ground. It's going to be what can we change, this, that, and the other, and we've gone over that in previous videos. In terms of, just to finish off, the Werner penalty, do we think, and Graham Souness brought this up, do we think that it was dangerous what he did? You know, he just there was no attempt to move around Ramsdale. It was just run straight into him and just he really put him in danger, I think.
I think from what I saw, and Mida made this comment, he was going down before he even had any contact with Ramsdale. He knew what he was doing. Obviously, we had a good first look at this concussion subs. It was very good to see them doing the test on the field. Fodder and nearly got an appearance. But with the knee to the head, obviously it was a penalty, but do you think with now this concussion protocol, there's a possibility that the player who does it gets booked? Because
I don't know.
Because you can't tell then if it's intentional or not.
I know it's not a thing you can tell it's intentional, but he didn't make any.
Yeah, he just ran straight through him.
He just ran straight over the top of him.
I understand your point, but if we're getting into that sort of pedantic area, whereby you're booking players because they've concussed somebody else, then you're going to be booking players left, right, and centre. I think maybe I'm wrong, but
no, you're completely right. It's just
absolutely, yeah.
It's one of them ones where they could just say, like, well, where am I meant to go? If he's there, where am I meant to? That's what it is. There's so many arguments, for it.
To me, it was just the fact that he knocked the ball a completely different direction, and then didn't follow the ball whatsoever and kept going under Ramsdale. But it was a good performance from Chelsea. Mount got a good goal. Jorginho brought back the skip penalty that he's decided he took away from a game. It was interesting to hear from Wilder's interview that he believes all this is self-inflicted. Do you think it's self-inflicted, or do you think it's the fact that it's Sheffield?
I just don't like Jim. I just don't like Chris Wilder, to be honest. He's a numpty, so to speak. If I could say,
if Alan Work keeps asking me, are Sheffield going to pull this off? I think he must have a slight inkling himself that Sheffield can pull this miracle
Yeah,
off.
the good escape.
I don't know what. It'd go down history, I think, if they did. It really would.
Absolutely. I just don't know. I mean,
I don't agree with him though. It's self-inflicted. I don't know where
it's him. He says it's self-inflicted. It's him that's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, not be a better
coach. Didn't get up down the road.
Don't even bring it up.
Well, moving on. Talking about actually, it was.
Sorry,
no, absolutely. No, I mean, look,
that was a good game that day, actually.
It was. That was Easter.
I
think it was like 47. I think that game was 2-1. Was it? It was 2-0.
It was something. It was 2-0. It was 2-0. But it was. It was around Easter time. It was around Easter time.
Was it? I think you're right there.
And because I was working that day and we went 2-0 down. I just went to work when we made.
It was one of them seasons that Leeds just fell apart at the end, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, you know that's one of in the previous. That's a completely different.
One of the last 10 seasons could it happen again?
Yeah, well, yeah, one in the last 10. We've only fallen apart. Bielsa's first season and Christensen's only season. That's 2 seasons in the past 6 or 7, I would say.
We'll second that at the end of the year.
We will absolutely will not. Well, actually, good segue. Speaking of Leeds, Leeds won 2-0 against Palace. You both are very glad to hear. There we are. It was too easy. I'm not like I would love to say we were unbelievable, but it was too easy. You know, there was no threat from Palace whatsoever, and it seemed to be give the ball to Easy, which don't get us 3 wrong. We've said that in the past. Give it to Easy, and they might do something, play in the right position. But it was just give it to him and hope for the best, and he couldn't do that much.
I think you should just ran them off the pitch. I think you should just first everything. You just wanted it more, and end up and probably deserved the win from what I've seen.
Yeah. Well. It is a point to say that obviously Zaha never played, so Palace never were going to win. You can probably say.
I just like the fact that
I said Palace with it.
They didn't even make it difficult. There
was no.
There was
no Burnley where it was like 5 at the back and 5 in midfield and just try and block it out and try and get a draw. They just literally made themselves open for us.
Just showed up and that was it.
Exactly. I think what Palace do, they play football that they haven't got the team to do. They play a style of football that they haven't got enough. Well, I think they try. I think they think they're a team that's going to be playing well, but they're not. They haven't got the ability.
I'll play devil's advocate. So, Klein, you're saying what? You're saying they play neat and tidy, and they shouldn't.
No, I think they play. I think they can play neat and tidy, but they can't.
I would think the opposite. I thought your original point was they. I don't really know. Holy shit! I thought your original point was they try and play.
You're trying to say he says they're playing neat and tidy, but they shouldn't. He said they will go more direct, I think.
But I don't think they do. Roy Hodgson is synonymous, and you will know through Liverpool, they are synonymous for playing. He is synonymous for playing average football. Just basic. You've got your 2 banks of 4 and hope for the best. That's really.
He doesn't really have a style, does he?
Exactly.
I think it's just throw players on their pitch and see what they do.
That's okay. Well, I agree with that. Because they did that on Monday night. They did that where they just gave the ball to Easy and hope for the best. And if it didn't go to Easy, then Gary Cahill got absolutely rinsed by Rafinha. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, that was one of my points. Is the Palace game plan was just give the ball to Easy, but I don't think it was the game plan. I think Easy was the only man looking for the ball. And whenever Batshuayi came on, he did something. He tried to do something, but even still. I think before we move on, I think we have to first off, congratulate Patrick Bamford on his 100th goal, 100th straight goal. Good on him. But also Rafinha again, just just taking a hand at the players for fun. It's just unbelievable to watch as a Leeds fan.
Sorry. I think it's only a matter of time before he's going to end up in one of the top 6 clubs, or possibly
Stuck on them, playing a big club. Stuck on them.
Saying
Well,
nothing.
big clubs.
Hold my
some
tongue here.
some big clubs. I think it's the point that I think now that we've seen what the world, not possibly just the Premier League, has seen what he can do in a big league. It's possible that the bigger clubs are going to come on from him. I think
what I was saying, was it podcast or two ago, was like, how was he missed? You know, saying like somebody then the Leeds came in and got him, and nobody else was really.
Well, apparently Real Madrid came in from, and they offered 60 million. No, that was 60 million euros, 60 million pounds, whatever it was. And then apparently the French TV deal fell through, and Rennes were just like, yeah, and Leeds at that time were like, yeah, we'll give you 80 million for him, and Rennes were like, yeah, well, that's happy days, prime bills going ahead, and that's how we got. Apparently, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but apparently so. But yeah, phenomenal.
I would take him. I'd take him as like be a nice. I think he'd be a nice addition. And the rumors out constant Twitter is just we keep getting linked. We keep getting linked with him now. Quite a good bit. Shane Klopp's a big fan, supposedly.
My only argument is he can obviously he can go to Liverpool. He can get a massive wage. He can,
But he won't play.
But he'll be a rotation player, and that's not a bad thing. Liverpool, obviously, I mean, Shaqiri, Jota,
Keita,
James Milner, even Keita, they've all sort of gone there to be that role. But he could stay at Leeds.
You would hate to see him go from what he's been at Leeds to what he would be as a backup at a team.
Exactly.
And I think he's one of them ones. No, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Not going ahead.
I was going to say, it's like when Jota was meant to be the backup, but Jota was playing quite a bit. I think he could be one of them players. Like you could rotate the team
play his way
more.
Into the game.
I say you get a lot more starts than probably would think. Like if somebody you're like, oh, boss must fit an update or so, like you're hoping to
a minor side,
you could play him.
I don't know.
But he came in there now, like he'd be one of our best backups alongside Jota. Like he's better than Origi and all them boys. Like
that wouldn't be hard. Like, no, I'm not being but yeah.
I think if we bring up something we talked about earlier on in terms of United, I know this is sacrilegious to say in terms of Leeds fans that if it was possible that United would come on for him, do you think that would be the perfect thing for them at that right hand? I know it's a sacrilegious saying. I hate saying it myself because from a family of Leeds fans, it's hard to say. But I think that could be their option as the perfect right mid that they need to replace Greenwood. Who I know they say Greenwood's a great player, but he's had a mess on that right hand side.
Yeah.
There.
Me and mate were discussing in work. We kept chatting about Sancho, saying about we don't hear Sancho mentioned that much here, and like when teams take a gamble on him. Raphinha, it is Raphinha.
Raphinha,
pronunciation. He could be a different option. Maybe he'd be a bit stubborn. He'd be a lot cheaper. You could probably get him. I say if you threw in 45, 50 million bid, you could get him.
I don't know. I think my only argument is he could stay at Leeds, and Bielsa already is building a team around him. As much as Bielsa would like to say, I'm not a sort of one-man team, whatever. I think he could stay at us. He could build something. I mean, we've already, hopefully, touch wood, we could maybe finish top 10 this season, even sort of top bottom half. Build from there, Europa League, Champions League, that type of idea. But that is all dependent on whether Raphinha stays and whether Bielsa stays. If Bielsa goes, that's it. Raphinha will go. Everybody will go. Who cares? Nobody wants us.
Well,
I can't see Raphinha. I can't see him leaving this summer anyway.
Hopefully.
Well, in a perfect world, and I'll ask this to you now, who would you buy and what would you want in the summer for you to buy? In a perfect world, what would you buy to make that team better?
Good question. In a perfect world, who do Leeds buy? I think you're talking another striker. I think it'd be hypocritical of me to turn around and say that we don't need another striker, because earlier on I said every team needs that sort of extra option. I don't know who. Who do you, I mean, if you're talking a pacey striker who knows where the back of the net is, who can maybe finish that one big chance. Can you give any sort of who would you maybe think?
Well, if he's wanted to bring back Middlesbrough rejects, Morgan Braithwaite.
Morgan Braithwaite.
I think it was the type of Bielsa. I think he'll go into Europe.
I
think you'll find somebody and you'll be like, and then when the name comes up, you'll be like, yeah, that could be.
Yeah, a couple of young players you could think about. Maybe there's that boy Gowrie that plays for. I think he plays for Rennes. So we played alongside, or maybe on loan from Lyon or something. He seems to be a young talent. I've seen some stuff from him. I think he plays more the left hand side, but I think naturally when he was younger, when he played with Lyon, I think he was more striker role. It probably is around them young talents that you need to think about in terms of Leeds purchasing power. Obviously they have pull in the world because they're Leeds, because of history. But I think it is going to be the turns that they do buy someone young. I don't think it's going to be maybe an established star from a club that's fallen off a bit.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, just
that. No, I was like, sort of the opposite. I was thinking they might go for a starter.
Hopefully,
Edward Celtic before.
Not a bad idea at all.
There's a chance you're getting him now. He's the best chance. Celtic are an absolute mess. He brings speed and power. So.
Yeah. I mean, and just sort of quickly before we move on to the next game, I think we need another centre midfielder to sort of take the burden off Click and Rodrigo in there. And I was thinking another fullback, because don't get me wrong, I adore Luke Ayling, Stuart Dallas, Alioski, but we've at times with Ayling having to move into centre half.
Yep.
We've had a wee bit of sort of shortage at fullback, particularly right back, and I think Bielsa will be wise to get another right back to sort of supplement the side. But that'll be another episode in itself, I'm sure. Come sort of June time, and I mean, moving on from Leeds Palace, which was an absolute whitewash, to Spurs West Brom, which was another whitewash, which is something you don't really associate with Spurs, I suppose. But we talked about in the Palace game, Palace don't have a game plan. West Brom have a game plan, but it doesn't work. What's the point of a game plan if it doesn't work?
I think it was a slow. I watched the match. It was a slow start, obviously, out of the gates. For them, Keane had two very quick chances. He put them both wide. Or one might have been over the crossbar. I think the first one might have been either over the crossbar, just wide above. But then they came into the game. They came in defensively. They came into the game. I mean, not obviously attacking, because they don't do that a lot. But I think they had some good performances. Townsend played very well. I think I looked at some of the ratings for the games and I think they underrated the West Ham defense. Obviously, they did concede twice, but they did have some good time between the Kane chances and the goals. They were very solid. Peltier came onto the squad. Former Leeds player, played well. It's a long time ago.
Exactly. I was
I think it might have been League One Leeds. Or League.
At least 10 years ago then.
Well, he was at Liverpool. He started off. He was a Liverpool player a long time ago. He started his career, but he never played for us, obviously.
And you end up with Sam Allardyce.
It was just as soon as the goals went done, they fell apart entirely.
Mm-hmm.
They never have any. They don't have an attacking threat. Diagna, to be fair, he's looked decent. I have no idea why they didn't play Pereira that whole game. I have no idea why they waited to the 80th minute to bring on Pereira.
I agree.
It's just mind-boggling what he does.
Yeah, no. Well,
Sometimes.
I mean, is it mind-boggling? I mean, it's Sam Allardyce.
No,
What do
to
you
be fair, no,
expect?
it's not.
You know,
To be fair, it's not. It's not. It's just the fact that he plays that type of football and never changes it. Never thinks about maybe throwing a bit of attacking into it. It was unlucky. It was unlucky that they didn't score. Obviously, at the end, it was offside at their chance from Pereira over the top. But
yeah, sorry.
fair play to Tottenham. They pointed one.
Yeah, no, Harper. So just before you come on, West Brom 4 shots, 1 on target against a really poor Spurs side. Let's just clear that up. I mean, Spurs aren't at their best at the moment, and haven't been for the past year and a half or so. Just whenever Poch left, or just before, they're near enough 2 years, let's say. You know, the game plan for West Brom, there's no positives from it. The only positive that I can sort of find is Sam Johnson and nets making big saves and sort of keeping the score at a respectable line. And also there was no fight from West Brom, none whatsoever. You know, they didn't have that fight to get back into the game. Fair enough, Klein, you've said that they were unlucky to get called for offside, but apart from that, I didn't see anything from them. They didn't want to sort of go for it.
I think as soon as they concede, they're done. As soon as they concede the first goal, they're not going to get back into it.
They're not a team set up. They play from behind. You know, as Klein said, they're buggered once they go a goal down.
Yeah, I mean, Kane again scoring with Højbjerg actually did a good 3 goals. Sort of, I know we were talking about last week, but yeah. So I mean, there's again, it's sort of the same as a few games last week, and there's another few games to come up with us. There's not really much you can say. You know, West Brom's the same old. You sort of are. There's not much you can do. Spurs will only get so far.
Do you think
West Brom are down?
Mm-hmm.
We've already discussed that last week. They're down.
Do you think on the Tottenham side of it, do you think we were right at the point that they just panicked and they had to get Kane back in, bring him back early? Do you think it's?
I was surprised. I seen him in the team. I thought.
Do you think it's just? I think they just realised, we're not home without him, and he has to play no matter what, so just throw him on.
Part of that could be down to Keane too. He might have said, "I'm ready to go."
Well, he did it in the Champions League final. So what's to stop him from doing it against West Brom in the Premier League at the home? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm wrong. By the way, maybe he didn't do it in the Champions League final, but I wouldn't be surprised.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. Gentleman can speak. So moving from one side of London to the next in Arsenal. Villa against Arsenal, which ended up 1-0. I mean, it was a pretty even game. Like if you look at the stats, you had 12 shots for Villa to 14, 8 shots on target though, which is the big difference, to 3 on target, and then 34% possession for Villa to 66%. Do we think that maybe the strong start from Villa caught Arsenal sleeping was the real difference?
Yeah, it was a bad mistake from Cedric. But I think Arsenal did play well. From what I seen, they dominated possession. They just couldn't score. They couldn't get a shot on target, to be fair. Great defensive performance from Villa. I think all of their defenders were rated at least an 8 out of 10 for the game.
Big man Konza.
Yeah, which considering I sort of questioned him a few weeks ago. That's the old curse strikes again.
I think it's been interesting to see from Arsenal recently the fact that they're losing to so many for lower sides. Saying that Liverpool can't say that, to be fair, because we lost to Burnley and Brighton, but I think it's such a mad season that all these games are happening. I don't think, obviously, Villa's not a down their side, but they are losing to some odd sides that they shouldn't be losing to.
Villa or Arsenal's losing to the odd sides. Sorry,
Arsenal.
All right. Well,
it's one of them. It's starting to become the norm.
Yeah.
Like Villa beat Arsenal, but were we stunned by it? Like we were like, holy,
no,
they beat Arsenal.
I think it's just something that could happen.
That could be, yeah. I think it's
if it was 5 or 6 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, you probably
No.
got a point. Villa shouldn't be beating Arsenal, but again,
I was Klein, even you with you said look, the last the Brighton game when we get beat. You said like you weren't that shocked.
Surprise.
No, you weren't. Yeah, I'm sort of hoping that doesn't become the new norm. Like all these, like, supposed to be more exciting as the bigger
Very
teams.
much
hopefully-
more interesting
hopefully-
league, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe fans,
but
have
it's
or sorry, the lack of fans have a massive.
that's definitely playing into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, sort
yeah,
of.
100%.
I read today, sort of through three emails, or whatever, that Holland or Holland is looking to have like their festivals in terms of music festivals back for September time. Like they're putting them in place from July onwards. So hopefully, you're talking maybe the next season or halfway through next season, we'll have fans back in sort of.
They have to 100% get it going. They can't go next year again with no fans in. That'll just be.
No, I think what it is. So they're gonna. I think in the UK compared to other places, they're gonna hold out as long as possible. I think the same way here in Northern Ireland, our lockdowns have been extended more and more over time. I think they're gonna keep extending it, saying, "Oh, it's not safe enough yet," and
yeah.
They're just gonna get people vaccinated.
They're going to leave it until
until
they can guarantee say that they can until they can guarantee say themselves, okay, we can put at least half capacity in these stadiums. I don't think we're going to do anything in a large scale.
Well, I suppose that's another argument for another time.
But like the Super Bowl had 20-something thousand. America's such a bad.
And America's worse than here.
I'd say America's worse than here. Like so that thing.
I think that's the big thing. Is not they don't care, but no, they don't care. But Trump didn't have anything in place to sort of combat COVID or anything. But again, that's another argument for another time, I suppose. Watkins again scored for Villa. I mean, we obviously talked about him last week in depth. However, Matt Ryan in goal for Arsenal didn't have a bad debut, to be fair to him.
No, he did not. Just unlucky. The goal was unlucky. Really, it was just after a poor mistake. But impressive. As to whether he proves himself that he's better than Leno. To be fair, most recent times that's not going to be hard. But to be fair, he got beat out by Sanchez, so we're going to say Sanchez is better than Leno at that point. But it'll be interesting to see as to who gets the number one job. They probably will go back to Leno after he serves his ban, but we'll see Leno's performances, and then we'll see whether they bring Ryan on to start.
The more I've seen now of that Brighton keeper, I think he might have made the right choice. He looks pretty solid.
Very, very good, to be fair. Came out of nowhere too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think he said he was on loan at, did they say Rotherham or something last year?
Possibly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good segue from Arsenal Villa to Burnley Brighton, which ended up 1-1. And now we say whatever, this is actually 2 weeks in a row where Burnley dominated the game, which now if you're a Burnley fan, this is amazing. Like, this is incredible. Burnley dominated the game.
They're probably not happy with that, to be honest.
Well, yeah, well, Sean Dyche's happy anyway. Just bloody hell. I think personally, it was a game of set pieces, which isn't really surprising, I suppose, because Burnley are such a set piece side, and Brighton are such a tall side. You need to take advantage of both those things in their own way. Both sides definitely showed some fight, which is more than we can say for West Brom and the likes. But also the fact we're saying that says a lot about this game. It was such a shocking game. It was appalling. Like
Burnley had 20 shots,
which is they're lucky to have 2 shots normally.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it really is. 7 on target. Which is like,
it was
7. Chris Wood should be bearing all 7.
I think
doesn't get.
I think it's a point of saying it's more. It was a good goal. It was a great goalkeeper performance compared to it was a great attacking performance. Obviously they had a lot of good chances. Sanchez obviously had the better of the full time.
Mm-hmm.
Other than even at the goal, it was a powered shot from Barnes that Goodmanson put in. But they were unlucky, to be fair. Vydra had a very good chance that was, again, very well saved from Sanchez, but was just happy to see them get beat 2-0 by Bournemouth. But
that was good to see.
Good goal from Dunk off the corner from Pascal Gross. There's not much really can say about this game.
It's the same as a few games when there's next 2 games are gonna be the exact same, but
coming up. But to be fair, 1-1 draw. Both teams will be happy to get any points. Well, Brighton have played very well, but it is a point of the game where they want to accumulate as much points as possible, so they both got points. So there you go.
Yeah, not a bad result for either, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, moving from Burnley Brighton, which was a surprisingly eventful game for Burnley, which wouldn't be hard, to Wolves Leicester, which finished up 0-0. Leicester sort of coming off that big loss to us, or sort of the game, sort of 2 games previous. Do we think it's more? It's a good point for Wolves and a point and sort of 3 points drop for Leicester.
I think Wolves had more of the game. To be fair, from what I saw, it was very odd from Leicester. It's another one of them games off, but it's a bit odd. Obviously, I don't know if it was Iheanacho playing a game, was he, or is Vardy back in the squad? Or I don't know now.
No, I think Vardy came on. Did he?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Iheanacho started, right?
Okay.
I think
I've already did go on. Yeah.
I think it's another one of them days off, really. Obviously, with the fast stream of fixtures at the minute, maybe it's the case of being tired, some of the players, but it's weird to see. To fair, you are right in saying I think it is more of a 3 points loss than a 1 point gain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's any game really Leicester lose at this point. You can really say these days.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree with that argument in that they're pushing for the title or pushing for top 4, and at this stage it should be. Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to say, Molyneux's really tough place to go.
Yeah.
I didn't see Roger's comments, but I shouldn't even in the stadium. I say Roger's been quietly happy with that result. This point is it's not great, but it's a tough place to go.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's Leicester, no disrespect, but
yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, Wolves only had 1 shot on target the entire game.
It was at the very end, I think. That's Fabio Silva chance.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I looked at beforehand. I know they won. They did beat Arsenal, but that was 2 midfielders scoring. The last time an attacker scored for Wolves was against West Brom, and they lost that match.
Yeah, they lost 3-2. Yeah,
they lost 3-2.
That was Fabio Silva.
Fabio Silva,
Fabio Silva scored in that game.
He scored the first, I think, and then
I think so. Yeah,
he scored the second.
I think so.
That was it. Yeah.
It's. So I must. Do you think of West? Do you think on the lines of a West Wolves fan, it's just disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the fact they have 2 high quality players in the midfield. In my mind, I do think they're 2 very good players.
Coutinho and Neves.
Yeah, 100%. It's just that if it was me, I'd be disheartened by it because they just don't score up front. They just don't have any. It's probably the case of Fabio Silva being too young. Maybe it is that. Maybe it's coming out of the Portuguese league and it's a possibility they might be a bust. But I don't think he is. He's too young to say that at this point. But I suppose we did say about Macheda when he was at United. He scored when he was very young and then he turned into nothing.
I don't think that situation maybe suited Fabio Silva. So maybe they wanted to work him in slowly, but then
Jimenez gets injured.
Jimenez injured, if nobody else had it, just thrown straight in there.
I mean, I think, and obviously I just talked about Leeds signing a fullback there in the summer window. James Justin has to be given massive credit. He absolutely took the piss out of Adama Traore.
Yep.
Not in an attacking sense, but Adama Traore tried to knock it past him. He was like, "No bother, I'll run with you." He tried to outstrength him. James Justin steps in there and outmuscles him. I mean, he's been unbelievable this season. So was Fofana from Luton.
Yeah.
Who did they sign? Who did they sign James Justin from?
Luton.
Luton. Who goes to Luton and thinks they're going to get a class fullback? Is going to take the piss out of Adama Traore?
That's got scouting network like
exactly,
crazy.
Which again shows why the Championship is. There's talent there. That's my point. Sorry, that's my point. Is that there's talent that can be found, and that's again. I obviously tweeted last week whenever Liverpool signed Ben Davies. The fact that Liverpool signed Ben Davies says everything about Bielsa sticking by his players from the Championship, i.e., Stuart Dallas, Calvin Phillips, Luke Ayling, Liam Cooper, Jack Harrison. The list goes on. The point still stands that if you coach them in the right way, they will be incredible. And James Justin has once again proved that.
To be fair, Sean Dyche has done that. No, we hate Sean Dyche, but he's kept a core
of
players.
He has. He has.
No, he has. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Justin went off injured last night. I think he might be a doubt for Saturday, which is good news for us Liverpool fans.
And this is me saying a lot of praise for James Justin. If James Justin was in that Leicester backline, it's a completely different game for Liverpool. And he's just a different defender than whoever they get in.
And that attacking threat as well. You don't have to worry about that as much as well. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think this may be a game of missed chances for both sides. Yep. I think 100%. That definitely was something.
That can be the takeaway from that.
So moving on to their final game, which was the biggest dud, but also the
game of controversy.
The game of controversy. I think we'll talk about the game first because there's not much to say. It was a dud of a game. Fulham dominated. Even and obviously we'll get on to the red card, but the red card came quite late on, so Fulham even up to them.
I think.
We've obviously Harper, you in particular, have given Scott Parker a lot of credit for what he's done at Fulham, and I think I myself am now saying it. As much as they might go down, you stick by him.
Is it a dud of a game in the sense that it's 0-0, or was it a good game in the fact that they were able to not concede?
That's a tough. I think Moyes wasn't happy after the game. He wasn't impressed the way West Ham played. Was it a night off for West Ham?
Well, that's not unreasonable to be fair. You're going away to Fulham, and it's not as if to say Fulham is the same as I don't know. Well, there's no real relegation.
Crystal Palace,
or Turf Moor, that type of idea where you go there and it's hard to get a result.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe where he's annoyed, and he's probably particularly annoyed considering they came off of the Liverpool loss, which was it wasn't the most recent loss, but still the point still stands, and that he's annoyed. I absolutely agree. He was annoyed, but I'm sure Scott Parker was annoyed as well, just equally as annoyed.
Yeah, because I think he's probably just wondering himself, when's this win coming? He probably knows it's going to come soon, but
do we know what that is now for Fulham in terms of wins wise? Can we sort of get that stat pulled up?
Fulham had 2 wins, 18th and 15 points, no game in hands now. Oh, but Burnley's above them.
Yep.
No game in hands. They're in 15 points. Burnley are in 17th 17th with 23 points.
Mhm.
That gap's becoming
Well,
sort of
But I mean,
impossible now.
I'm just. Hold on, let me see here. They haven't got a win. They haven't got a win in the Premier League since
It's December or something.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They haven't got a win in 12 games in the Premier League. Obviously, there's sort of the FA Cup is in there in between. They lost to Burnley and they beat QPR. Their last win came over Leicester, a 2-1 win over Leicester.
That was away from home with him. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
Cavallero scoring as well.
I mean, Fulham aren't doing anything particularly wrong. I mean, you look at West Brom, you look at Sheffield United. Like, there's a vast gap between those three teams. But they just, I don't know. They're just. It's
Fulham need to decide, like, obviously there's still plenty of the league left. They can still stay up.
Yep.
But if they're going down, they need to plan early. They need to plan right.
Yeah.
If we go down, we're coming up, and we're coming up to stay. They can't keep up, down, up, down. They need to and stick with Scott Parker as well. They need to.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, which is easier said than done.
Yep.
I mean, you look at sort of Stoke, the first season they came down, and they played Leeds first game of the season, Ellen Road, and everybody was like, how's Stoke going to do? How's Stoke this, that, and the other? And we went and thumped 3-1. You know, it's obviously that's a Bielsa drilled Leeds, but even still, you know, it's not easy to come straight back up. It's a real tough thing. I mean, I would be curious over the past sort of 10 years how many sides have gone down and come straight back up.
Fulham and West Brom have done pretty well with that. Like, to be fair, it doesn't take them long to come back up.
Yeah,
it's just the problem. Staying up's just been the problem.
Well, from the game itself, there was only realistically two main. Well, there's 4 chances, but the 2 main ones that were missed, I think, was Kefal hit the crossbar.
Hit the crossbar. Yep.
Hit the crossbar, and then obviously Adara Bayoyo got the header over the bar.
What's his name?
Adara Bayoyo. Tossin, we'll call him. That's how you say. I think that's how you say.
Had to do it.
I think that's how you say.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
But well played. They only had 2 shots on target. Need to get better in front of goal. I had, but what happens. We fall with the ball.
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. I was going to segue into the next bit. Yeah, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's discuss this red card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you say whatever happens. I think that can be applied to any numpty who decided who decided to send a death threat to Mike Dean and his family. And
100%. I
remember 2 or 3 years ago, whenever Leeds were still in the Championship, I text Harper saying Harper texted me saying, Mike Dean is not refereeing this weekend in the Premier League. And I was like, happy days. And then he replied, he's refereeing Leeds. And I remembered. But that's as far as it goes, I think. You know, the Souček red card, it's been overturned. Happy days. That's it. You leave it at that, I think.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yes. I think it's getting. I think what Parker, the word he used was it's getting too soft. Yeah, I think he did say soft, or he said something along their lines. I think it's the fact that they've brought in this new concussion rule, and they say any head contact, you're done. Any head contact, you're going off. I think they need to catch themselves on, and the fact that it was obvious that he was just trying to get Mitrovic's hand off his arm.
A yard of space.
He was not going to try and hit Mitrovic. And Mitrovic said himself there was nothing on it. You can see it. He said it to the referee, but my team was having none of it. But I don't think it's the red cards and the decisions that Mike Dean's been handing out the minute are particular only Mike Dean's fault. Not fault, but well, it is a fault. But I think the VAR assistants are telling them to go over to check them, and their mindset as soon as they say go over and look at it, it's going to be a red.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they are doing at the minute. I think as soon as someone goes and tells you to go and look at the boards of the TMO in rugby, it's going to be a card.
Well, I think the difference is, and Harper, I know you want to jump in here. I'm just
go ahead.
I think the difference in rugby is that whenever a try is awarded or something happens, the referee says, "Is there any reason for me to give a yellow card, to not give a try, to give this, that, or the other?" It's mainly obviously yellow card, red card, try. That's it. Those real key moments in the game. In football, it's a clear and obvious error.
Aye.
What's a clear and obvious error?
Exactly.
Like in football, there's so many more: throw in, foul, free kick, penalty, goal kick. That type of idea. There's so many more. I think they need to say, right, if it influences the game's the score and that type of idea, then we should look at it. Otherwise, like if it's a red card, yellow card, we should definitely look at it. But if it's a small foul, I mean,
I can see it. If I can see it in the case of it's something that's happened off the ball.
Yes,
something that's happened off the ball. Maybe what happened with Adama and De Gea the other night. Adama running under the back of De Gea send him to the ground. That's those kind of decisions that I think VAR should be used for.
Absolutely.
Not the cases of there's a handballs.
He's offside by this much.
Yes, the offside infuriates me because they go from 1 week saying it's his armpit to the next week saying it's his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Sorry, just the one thing I hate about the offsides too, the fact that they show it at the angle of the camera. It should not be at an angle. It should be straight across the pitch.
Yeah.
I know it's impossible. They have a million bloody cameras across the pitch. They show the VAR, but over time that might be what they have to do, because they have to sort out as to whether they're doing it. Because at the camera angle, you can't completely tell whether they're offside or not.
Yeah.
It infuriates me the fact that they use angles, and then whenever it comes to justifying their decision, they pick an absolute camera point as where it's where you can see it, and they're not showing where they could have made an error. That's what I think.
Harper, you've had
that was good. That was good.
You've had plenty of thoughts.
I was discussing it with my dad, and he was saying, like, obviously the refs aren't good enough. That's why VAR is here.
Yeah,
it's here to help them. I think he was sort of backing Mike Dean a bit. Lee Mason is sitting in an office with a cup of coffee beside him in the heat. Calm, nobody around him.
Something with 100 screens around him. Yep.
I think his dad was saying, like, why, like, he has to make that decision. Mike Dean's running down the pitch, knackered, his heart beating out his chest. All that atmosphere around him, he has to go over in front of a screen and make decisions.
Yeah.
Why can't Lee Mason or the telling VAR? Why can't he make the decision? And I brought the point back saying, well, that means then the other debate's going to be, well, the referees, people's going to say then, well, the refs aren't good enough. And then he was like, well, that's his point exactly. They aren't. That's why they need
help.
I sort of agree with that point then. I think he doesn't want, he's like, should do away with the screens.
I think,
and people in the VR room should have more say in it.
It should be on the big screen. Sorry, Klein, I know you're about to come in here. I think that you look at rugby and it's a discussion between the TMO and the referee. That's the point of it, is that the crowd see what's happening. The TMO sees what's happening. The referee sees what's happening. Obviously,
you can hear the referees speaking.
You hear the referee speaking. You know what's happening, like, and it's not like, oh, okay, this is what's happened, I'm saying no, this is what's happened. What do you think? Nigel Owens, for example,
Yeah.
You know, it's that level where it's a level of respect. Like the three of us have respect for each other in that we know, right, if one's talking, we'll keep our mouth shut. And that's, you know, and obviously sometimes as we would heated, it happens. But I just think it's mad that football hasn't got that.
Yeah.
How can Lee
Definitely.
Mason look? How can he sit and look at that screen? His name's been brought up quite a few times the last few weeks. How can he look at that screen and say, "Oh, you're going to have to go and take a look at that. I think there might be a violent act."
Play. Like, if
Mm.
he
The minute he
knows foul
mentions
play,
the ref, I think there might be foul play or violent act. That's putting the ref's head right. There must
Yeah.
be something badly going on
Exactly.
here.
yeah.
And it's.
Um,
But I like that idea of VR. People taking more. Having like
Yeah.
more
Control.
points, like control. Yeah.
So take a pause.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's sort of us. I think do we
Yeah.
want to, yeah, I mean,
that's great.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure we'll
fine.
come back to this at some point in later podcasts. I want to say,
Yeah.
I think from all of us, we want to say thank you very much for watching once again. We
you.
really appreciate it. Be back next week. There'll be another upload, whether it be Friday or Saturday. It'll be there. And we really appreciate you. So yeah,
See ya.
thank you very much for watching, and
Thanks.
see you later.